What could a young Filipino say to make an entire professional volleyball team from Poland break down in tears? This wasn't during a game. There were no cameras rolling for TV. Just a simple moment that changed everything these athletes thought they knew about the world. Stay with me because this story is about something much deeper than volleyball. The Polish women's national volleyball team arrived in the Philippines for an international tournament. These weren't just any athletes. These were world-class competitors, women who'd spent their entire lives training, sacrificing, pushing their bodies to the absolute limit. They'd played in packed stadiums across Europe, competed in Olympics, stood on podiums. They thought they'd seen it all, but nothing prepared them for the Philippines. From the moment they stepped off the plane, something felt different. The airport wasn't just busy, it was packed with people waiting specifically for them. Not media, not officials, regular Filipinos, families with kids, teenagers holding homemade signs, elderly couples who'd traveled hours just to catch a glimpse. The team was confused at first. This kind of reception for volleyball? In most countries, even their own, volleyball doesn't draw crowds like this. But here, it was like they were rock stars. Over the next few days, everywhere they went, people lined the streets. Local kids would wait outside their hotel just to wave. Restaurants refused to let them pay. Strangers would approach them with gifts, handmade bracelets, local delicacies, letters written in broken English expressing gratitude for just being there. One of the players later said, "We kept asking ourselves, why? We haven't done anything yet. We haven't even played a single match. Why are they treating us like this?" A few days before their first match, the team was scheduled for a community outreach event. Standard stuff for international athletes. Visit a local school, take some photos, sign some autographs. Everyone goes home happy. They arrived at a small barangay, a neighborhood on the outskirts of Manila. The school was modest. Concrete walls, metal roofs, classrooms with mismatched chairs, but it was clean and decorated with colorful welcome banners clearly made by the students themselves. The Polish players went through the usual routine. They played simple volleyball games with the students, taught them a few drills, posed for hundreds of photos. The language barrier was massive. Most of the students spoke only Tagalog, and the team spoke Polish and some English. But somehow it didn't matter. Laughter is universal. But then during a break, one of the Polish players, Magdalena, sat down on a bench to catch her breath. She was exhausted from the heat and humidity, something they definitely didn't have back in Poland. A young boy, 13 years old, approached her. He was thin, barefoot, wearing an oversized shirt that probably belonged to an older sibling. He stood there for a moment, nervous, clutching something in his hands. Magdalena smiled at him. "Hi," she said. The boy didn't respond. He just stared at her with these intense, dark eyes, the kind that held more weight than a 13-year-old should carry. One of the local coordinators noticed and came over, offering to translate. The boy spoke quietly in Tagalog, and the coordinator began translating to English. The boy said, "I watch you play on my neighbor's TV sometimes. We don't have one, but he lets me watch through his window." Magdalena's smile softened. She nodded. The boy continued, "You come from Poland. I looked it up at school. It's very far, very beautiful." "Yes," Magdalena said, "it is beautiful, but so is the Philippines." The boy looked down at his feet. Then he said something that made the coordinator pause. She asked him to repeat it, as if she wasn't sure she'd heard correctly. The boy repeated himself a little louder this time. The coordinator's eyes welled up. She turned to Magdalena and translated. "He says, I wish I was born there, in your country, because then maybe I could play volleyball like you. Maybe I could travel the world. Maybe I could have dreams that actually come true." Magdalena froze. The boy wasn't finished. He said, "Here, we don't have a real court. We play with a rope tied between two trees. Our ball is made from plastic bags and tape. My father says I'm getting too old to dream, that I should stop wasting time and help him full-time at the market instead. But when I watch you play, I forget. I forget that I'm poor. I forget that I'll probably never leave this place. For a few minutes, I get to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone like me could matter." The coordinator was crying as she translated. Magdalena reached out and pulled the boy into a hug, and then she broke down, completely. This strong, stoic athlete who'd played through injuries, who'd faced defeat on the world's biggest stages without shedding a tear. She sobbed. The other players noticed. They came over asking what happened. When they heard one by one, they started crying too. Because here's what hit them all at once. They'd spent their entire lives complaining about training schedules, about cold gyms, about early morning practices, about coaches who pushed them too hard. They'd taken for granted that they had courts, professional equipment, nutritionists, doctors, sponsors. And this boy, this brilliant, hopeful, talented 13-year-old, was apologizing for dreaming. He was wishing he'd been born somewhere else, not because he didn't love his country, but because he thought that was the only way his dreams could be real. The team spent the next hour with that boy. They didn't just take photos, they sat with him. They asked about his life, his family, what position he liked to play. One of the players gave him her practice shoes, expensive, professional-grade shoes she'd brought from Poland. Another gave him a signed jersey. But more than that, they made him a promise. They told him, "Your dreams are not too big. Your circumstances don't define your limits. You're 13. You still have time. You can do this. Maybe not the way we did. Maybe not tomorrow, but you can." Before they left, the boy handed Magdalena what he'd been clutching the whole time, a small handmade bracelet woven from colorful threads. He said, "For good luck in your match." She wore it during every single game of that tournament. The team didn't just play well, they played like something had shifted inside them. They won the tournament, and after every match they pointed to the crowd where that boy was sitting with his family, tickets the team had personally arranged for them. When the story eventually got out, it went viral. Not because it was dramatic, not because there was some grand gesture, but because it revealed something true about both cultures. The Filipinos, who had so little materially but gave so much emotionally, and the Polish athletes who had achieved so much professionally but were humbled by a 13-year-old's simple honesty. Here's what this story is really about. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own struggles that we forget how privileged those struggles are. We complain about opportunities we take for granted. We dream small because we're afraid of failure, not because we lack resources. That 13-year-old didn't have a court, didn't have a ball, didn't have support. But he had a dream so powerful, it moved professional athletes to tears. The Polish team returned to Poland different. They started a foundation that sends volleyball equipment to underprivileged communities in Southeast Asia. Magdalena still wears that bracelet. And that boy, he's still playing, still dreaming. Because sometimes all it takes is one person to believe in you, even if they're from the other side of the world, to change everything. So the next time you feel like your dreams are too big or your circumstances are too limiting, remember this story. Remember that somewhere, a 13-year-old playing with a rope and a ball made from plastic bags moved an entire volleyball team to tears, not with sadness, but with hope. If that's not proof that dreams matter, I don't know what is.